too.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the FloTrack podcast. I'm Kevin, joined remotely by Gordon Mack, who is in, I believe, Minnesota. Is that correct?
Correct. Duluth, Minnesota.
How are things?
Hearing a lot of wild accents. It is awesome. Like, went whitewater rafting 2 days ago or yesterday. Don't know which day it was. But our instructor, hard about, like it was. I felt like I was in a movie. It was fun. I love the accent here because it all sounds like it's fake, but then you realize it's real, and then it becomes even better. Because Minnesota accents are really unique.
I think I'm surprised that you got out unscathed with whitewater rafting. I'm surprised. I feel like you'd be the type of guy who would just like really go for it and end up underneath the water. No?
I almost fell in once.
Okay,
that was about it.
Tell the story.
So, I mean, the story is I'm sitting in the front. I'm going. They do the wave where you look down and then you realize you're going into the water. Like there's no like the water's coming into you. You don't get to decide, and then the water fills up the raft. And you feel like you're going to sink, but then you just have to hold on, and then you come up, and then you're fine. It's really not that complicated. I mean, there was kids on one of the other rafts, so it's not like I was out there doing crazy class 5 rafts. It was just a good time.
All right. I'm glad you're okay. I'm happy to have you back tomorrow. Hopefully, right? Tomorrow you'll be back? Is that right?
Yeah,
leaving tonight? Okay, we'll see. Gordon,
permanently, Airbnb's pretty cool.
You might be podcasting from a raft somewhere. We also got Colt producing, the return of Colt. Colt, what's up, man?
I'm back.
How you feeling?
Glad to be here. Yeah,
Awesome.
Yeah, feeling good.
Glad to have you. All right, we got a lot to talk about. Let's get into it. Back. Yeah, it's great to have Colt back. We have just so much to get to. But first, folks might have noticed, if you're watching the logos, the gear, we're sponsored, Gordon. We're sponsored. This podcast presented by Tracksmith, the independent running brand inspired by a deep love of the sport. After years of crafting running apparel, which we are wearing right now, from best-in-class materials and timeless silhouettes, they've made their first foray into footwear. Gordon's holding it up right there for you guys to see. Inspired by running on soft, springy, and responsive natural surfaces, you can check out the new Elliott Runner today. The website is tracksmith.com. Break it down, Gordon.
I wore these shoes when I went whitewater, and they supported me fine. I didn't fall out of the boat. So not only are they great for trail runs, road runs, track runs, whatever, whitewater rafting as well. Add that to the list of what Tracksmith can do. But no, they're great shoes. I was excited to wear them. And the best part about them is they work like running shoes, but they also don't look like running shoes. So you can wear them like casually and also athletically, which is what I really like about it.
Yeah, neutral everyday trainer, 2-part supercritical P-back system. You were walking around the office in them. Guys, Gordon was bounding around the office in these things. He had a little bit of a pep in his step once he got these, right?
They also make me a little bit taller. See, this is like an inch. So when I go on these dates and they say I'm 6'3", all of a sudden I'm 6'4", you never know. So if you want to get a little height advantage, he's also a good.
I love it. I love it.
Good choice.
I took him out for a run this morning. Very comfortable. 9mm drop stack height, as you mentioned, 33.5 at the heel, 24.5 at the forefoot. The shoe fits true to size. They had me sized up perfectly. So check them out, tracksmith.com. They're called the Elliott Runners. Thank them for sponsoring the pod. Let's get into the show. We're going to talk about LA Grand Prix. We're going to talk about Rabat Diamond League. We're going to talk about the NCAA Prelims, East and West. We are going to talk about Anna Hall at Goetze's, dropping the number 5 heptathlon in history. There's going to be a lot. We're going to try to get to all of it. We don't know if Colt's going to do a 3-hour show, so we're going to go for as long as we can today. Let's start with the world record, Gordon. The world record in the shot put, and one of the greatest performances in track and field history when you look at the numbers. Ryan Crouser, 23:56, breaks his old world record. He did it on the 4th attempt, and it followed attempts 1 and 2 where he went 23:23 and then 23:18. 31. So not just one big throw for Crouser, but 3 big throws for the world record holder. He talked afterwards about how he's still tinkering with his technique. He's come up with a new way to do it. It's clearly working. He thinks he's got more in the tank, but it's hard to compare events. I get it. Every event's a little bit different in the way it's run and the opportunities that are out there. But Gordon, this is crazy. This was the best throw of all time, the 3rd best throw of all time, and the 5th best throw, tied for the 5th best throw of all time by one person in the same competition.
Yeah, I mean, there used to be this whole thing called the 22-meter club. That's not a thing anymore. Like, that's such like 22-meter club. Well, that's not a thing. The 23-meter club is now the exclusive club they want to be in because of what Ryan Crouser has been doing. And he is the chief executive, vice president, senior correspondent of this club because it's just him. Joe Kovacs is like a part-time member. Sometimes he shows up at a clutch championship performance and throws down a 23-meter throw. But outside of Ryan Crouser, it's Joe Kovacs, Randy Barnes, and Timmerman of Germany. And that's it. And the rest, Crouser.
Yeah, you
It's
talked
insane.
about 23-meter club. He might get to 24, which is unthinkable. People saw the video from Saturday. They had the barrier at 24 meters. They thought that was far enough back. He almost hit that thing. He was landing on a short hop and then slamming in to the edge of the sector. And he thinks he's got more in the tank. I don't know, but I'm not going to tell him no at this point. We thought the first time he broke the world record, that was this historic leap forward in the event. And then he puts together a series like this. Just insane. And I started looking up other all-time performances. I was like, oh, what's Rojas's best series? What's Wolarczyk's best series? You went back to Tokyo, long jump, world championship, Carl Lewis versus Mike Powell. Lewis had an incredible series, but he lost the competition to Mike Powell, and Mike Powell got the world record. So when people say this is in the mix or this might be the best competition of all time, again, with the caveat that all events are different in track and field, and it's hard to measure this versus a 100, 200 double or a prelim and a final. This is right up there with what he did. 1, 3, and tied for 5th.
He averaged 23.12 meters per throw.
And that's is that with the 3rd round, 5th round, and 6th round?
Yeah, all of them. So he threw
Yeah.
138.7 meters in 6 throws. So he averaged 23.12.
Yeah, which
That's nuts.
what's
His
23?
average.
Yeah, 23.12. If you look at that historically,
Second
was-
all time.
yeah, well, that was the old record before this era. Kind of fitting.
Yeah.
Randy Barnes, 23.12 in the same venue, and that was the record since 1990 before Kovacs broke it, and before Crouser broke it, and then now Crouser, you're saying averaged that for a series of 6 throws. He averaged Barnes's unbreakable world record over the course of 6 throws. It was mind-boggling what he did. Absolutely ridiculous. And I like that the barrier was that close. I know some people were worried, what's going to happen? I like that it was that close because it just showed you what he was doing with bumping up against what we thought was possible in the event. Gave you a great just as the same as when people almost jump out of the pit in the long jump. You're worried about what it means for the competition, but it gives you an idea of just how good they are.
Man, him and Mondo, and you could say Rojas in a way, and maybe even Sydney. There's like a conglomerate. Conglomerate? Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Conglomerate of all great athletes who are literally rewriting the record books. That's normally a phrase, oh, you rewrote the record books. No, these athletes, Crouser, Mondo, Sydney, Rojas, if they don't exist, the records are just completely different. So it's kind of cool just to be part of, 4 to 5 athletes in their prime that we know when all is said and done, they're going to be the entire top 10 list. They're going to have to make asterisk top 10 lists because they're going to be like, I want to know what the real top 10 is when you take out Crouser, when you take out Mondo, when you take out Sydney, when you take out Rojas.
Yeah. 100%. Włodarczyk, same thing in the hammer. David in the chat brings up Jonathan Edwards' triple jump series from 95, Gothenburg World Championships, an 1829 and an 1816 I'm seeing there. But it's got to be there with the caveat that it is hard to measure this compared to a pole vault or compared to a high jump or compared to 100 or 200. It was just, I got so fixated on, okay, he's just smashed the old world record. But then you look back at the 23-23 and the 23-21. Also, once he did the 23-23, I started making the graphic. You'd have been proud of me. I knew it was over at that point. I started getting it ready because started writing the article. It was just a matter of how far. Because you open with 23-23, he's only going to get, at least one that's bigger than that, you figure. And he delivered.
Unreal. I'm surprised. So obviously that was the marquee moment of the weekend. Let me say, there's a lot. It took a world record to be the marquee because from NCAAs, what Anna Hall was doing, other meets here in LA and Rabat. But you chose an interesting number 2 story.
I chose the 100.
I didn't think that. Okay.
Men's 100, because I want to group this by events or event group, if you will. And I think a lot of things happened in the men's 100. A lot of things happened in the men's 15. So I don't want to make this just let's go through Rabat and then let's go through LA. I want to talk about it by events. And then same thing with the women's sprints between the 100 and the 200 that were split. So I want to talk about the men's 100. Let's start first in Rabat. Fred Kerley shows up. He delivers 994, gets the win, came on late. He's really strong over those last 40, 50 meters to the point where to beat him, you got to be out in front early on. You got to put pressure on Kerley. He's just so solid. Simbine, solid race, 999 for second. Omanyala of Kenya in the pre-race press conference said he's not going to lose a race again this season. Credit him for talking big and getting the hype going, but he got third, 10:05. Tobogo fourth, 10:09. Bromell, 10:10. Not on this list. This happened after we got done recording last week. Marcel Jacobs scratched again, issue with his back. I think Fred Kerley posted something funny. I don't even remember at this point. Fred Kerley's getting the trash talk game down too. He posted and I took that personally meme after he won this race as well too. He's dialed in on all fronts, but 100% not surprised by Jacobs. He's supposed to run against Kerley in Italy, but at this point, I don't know. Listen, even if Jacobs ran, I think he would have had a tough time getting in the top 3 or 4. It's been a while since he's run something that lets us know he's at the level that Kerley's at right now. So this one was big. And then I'll just throw the LA result out there, and you can take this wherever you want to. Oh, here's the Kerley tweet. Let's throw that up there, Colt. We got that. That one's too good. We can't pass that up. I mean, this is great work by him, especially people who are still loving those Last Dance memes. Because I think he did it. Did he just do the duck emojis when Jacob scratched?
Yeah, I got to resize it. I'm rusty.
Kerley called it too. Like in the press conference, I think it was before the last meet, not Rabat, but in the press conference for the last meet, he said something like, I'll race him if he shows up. Like, and this is after Jacobs had committed to a series of races. He basically was predicting that Jacobs wouldn't show. So then when Jacobs didn't show, then he was like, all right, whatever. And then Omanyala talks about how he's not going to go undefeated. And then Kerley posts and I took that personally. meme
Kevin.
After. Yeah.
Is Fred Kerley low-key an amazing Photoshop artist? Because you look at his head placement
it's good.
onto the Michael Jordan meme, it looks flawless. It's a perfect size. Either he has someone helping him with his memes, or he is on point with how to rotoscope and put his head onto another man's body. Because it looks flawless. I mean, Colt, you know a lot about graphic artists and creativity on the internet. That's impressive, right?
Yeah, I think you like maybe a little bit of like the shading on the neck gives it away, but it's really close. It's really good.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I'll ask this question.
Like, I don't even know where, like, is he cutting at the neck or the chin?
What was better, his 100 or the Photoshop this weekend? What's the more impressive Fred Kerley performance?
I mean, the Photoshop, the 100, he had a +1 wind, like plus 0.1. That Photoshop, he was going to the headwind because He's taking a photo that's probably from outside.
Going to a headwind.
There's a lot of light angles going into a headwind. So like, there's that thumb. The thumb just barely doesn't interrupt his cropping of the head. You notice that? It's just like, I think the victor goes to the Photoshop artist. So if it's Kerley, congrats. You got double gold this weekend. But if it's not, whoever your guy is.
Well done.
Thumbs up. Top
to bottom. Okay. So in LA, on the sprint side of things, I'm going to mention this and then I'll get out of your way. Your guy, Akeem Blake, biggest victory of his career, 989, bounces back from losing in Bermuda, gets a PB, beats Crevant Charleston and Christian Coleman, who are both at 991. So jump in here about that race or about Rabat. What's up with the men's 100?
All right, so we'll start with Blake. This was, I would agree with you, his best race of his career, young career. He got a legit win over Coleman. However, even though this is his best race, you kind of get a little concerned because you say, wait, is your best race a race where the second place finisher was Crevant Charleston, who I don't think has ever even made a world team, right? Has he ever made a world team? He might have.
He's been on fire. Speaking of which, he's running a Tracksmith jersey, Crevant Charleston as well. So, day of Tracksmith.
He is?
Here. Yeah. Yeah, he's been great this year.
I like that. I mean, no, don't get me wrong. This is his breakout year. This is his one shot to make the team because of the way he's running. But what I'm saying, like the legacy of Charleston is not the same thing as the legacy of Coleman. I guess you could say Christian Coleman, who was also in this race.
Yeah, he's a world champion. Come on, of course.
Yeah. But like it. All right, just hear me out.
Take the win. Take the win.
No, I'm taking the win. I'm taking the win.
Blake's been your guy. It doesn't matter what anybody else did. Stop doing the transitive property thing. Because you could say, he beat Marvin Bracey by over a tenth, and Marvin Bracey was a silver medalist. Like, you can't nitpick and say this person had a great race, that person had a bad race, whatever. Like, he got the win. He's been your guy for a while. I've been on Team Seville. I'm allowing you to gloat. He's your guy.
Okay. And I'm proud of Blake. And I think I don't want to get my hopes up. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm trying to stay even keeled because you know what happens to me when I go all in on thinking something's going to happen. It crashes and burns very hard, very often.
Yeah.
So I don't want to come out here and say Akeem Blake is going to win gold because that's not going to happen if I say that. I understand that I can screw things up by my reaction to certain athlete performances.
True.
I always do the opposite of what I say. And so in that situation, I'm not going to go on the top of the mountaintop and scream Akeem Blake. I'm just going to wait till end of August to do that. But I do want to speak of, so Blake looking good. Like we said, the idea of a U.S. sweep is not happening. It's like so off the radar now, in my opinion. Blake coming in here, Simbene looking good against Kerley. Obviously, Seville, you go Omanyala when he gets back together. So there's just a lot of international guys where I don't see U.S. sweeping. But what I will say is, prior to this race, I said Fred Kerley's floor is bronze. His floor is now silver.
Ooh.
I don't see two men beating Kerley.
Cole, do you have a sound for floor elevation alert? Gordon has moved the floor. Boop, boop.
He's going up one level. His floor is definitely second. I don't see two guys beating him. The way he's running consistently and against anybody, you can't say he's just running against randos anymore in Japan and Australia. He's now running at a Diamond League against a majority potential world championship final type field, and he's winning with ease and dominating fashion. Doesn't look lucky. Again, there's always going to be a flash in the pan somewhere, like a Marcel Jacobs who won in 2021, or someone else who can come in hot and just have the perfect race on the perfect moment to beat Fred. But I don't see two guys having that. It's going to take 9-7 to beat Kerley. Sure, one guy could do it, but two guys, no. And
welcome to my side of the argument. Welcome to my side of the argument.
Wait,
it's been lonely.
You're on Noah Lyles winning gold. What do you mean your side of the argument?
Yeah, I do, but that's just a bold prediction. But no, I said there was a gap between Kerley and everybody else. And even though this wasn't this wasn't an enormous win, but everybody else has shown vulnerabilities, has shown flaws. Kerley just keeps getting wins, and he doesn't seem to be backing down at all from anybody. Again, it's still early. Like, I look at Bromell. I said I wasn't going to overreact. I'm not going to. That's his opener, 10-10.
Yeah.
Right behind Tobogo, who's great. 0.05 behind Omanyala. And then Bracey Williams still not going to overreact with that result either. But there is a gap between Kerley and everybody else. Because who's number 2 right now? Who's number 2? Because we had it as Omanyala. It can't be Omanyala. Akeem Blake wins, but then he had just lost the previous week to Coleman and Lyles. Is it Simbine? Like the second spot could be 8 guys.
Is it Simbine?
Well, my point is the second spot could be 8 guys, and the first spot could only be 1 guy. There's nobody out there who has anybody else but Kerley at number 1.
So if you were a math teacher, you would say 1 equals 1 and 2 equals 8.
Exactly. And I would raise the floor to silver for Fred Kerley. Those are all the operations. Penn.
There you go.
Yeah, I want to see Oblique Seville again. He's the other, and I'm not just saying that because we had the Seville versus Blake back and forth. I want to see what he's doing because Blake's running so well. It makes me think he's good to go too. Let's go to the 1500s. Same thing. We'll do the men's 1500s and we'll go to the women's sprints. We'll go Rabat and then LA. Ingebrigtsen, 3:32:59. Negus was there, but this was a vintage Ingebrigtsen race, right? Got command and then just ratcheted down the pace. Everybody tried to kick. They couldn't. Jakob looked once, Jakob looked twice, and he was home free at that point. But I thought it was still a great race for Negus, and if you put in context on what happened in LA with some new names cropping up on the U.S. side, it's almost as if Negus needed that big performance, and he beats Oliver Hoare. So no surprise here with Ingebrigtsen number 1, but I think that's a solid 2 if you're Negus.
The way Jakob is running, it just makes it even more baffling that he lost the outdoor 1500.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's
right. He's got a formula, man. He's got a plan. He's got a formula. And when Whiteman went up to challenge, you thought, don't know about that. But credit to him. Ran a great race. That was a fast race. I don't know is Ingebrigtsen going to change anything when it comes time for the championships? I don't know. These races are just run pretty similar to Diamond Leagues now in terms of the overall pace. So I don't know if he switches anything up or if he just goes for it again and dares. Maybe he goes even harder. Maybe he just goes even harder. And I don't want anybody near me with 150 to go.
I think he doesn't want to take any more risks. He knows if he got cute. I'm not sure if he ever meant of getting cute against Whiteman, but the way he's running, and he's still not even in a peak of his prime. Like he's still rising to his prime. He's not on the top yet or coming down from it. I made that wild prediction like a year or so ago that he was never going to lose a race or something like that for like 4 years.
One of your best. Good job.
It still feels like the right thing to say. The way he's running, if you take out that 1500, we're not counting indoor stuff because indoor is weird. But you take out that World Championship 1500 and just look at all of his races.
Yeah.
He looks like a guy who has solved the running formula, where if you have this talent level and you run this way, you will never lose. And that's what he's been doing. Even when he's a little bit sick during indoors, but very impressive. But the Ingebrigtsen story is not really anything new. We knew that. I think the bigger story was the people who got second, notably here, Negus. I was impressed by that. I thought Negus's Rust Buster was going to be like run 3:35, kind of get him 6th or 7th. But for him to be in it on his first one, that was very impressive to me. So Negus may be the guy, but even though he did this, he didn't run the fastest time for an American this year, which is freaking wild. And we thought it would be a Cole Hawker or Cooper Tier. It was neither of those guys. It was Hobbs freaking Kessler.
3:32:61 gets third. He got third in this big-time race.
No one outside of Hobbs and his training partners saw this coming, right?
How old is Hobbs Kessler? Do you know?
I don't know.
He is 20.
21 yet?
No, he is 20. He is 20 years old. So we have this situation, and this is going to happen more and more. And he just turned 20 in March. We have this situation more and more where someone, and we'll take his event. Let's take the mile, for example. They run under 4 minutes, get a lot of attention, decide not to compete in college. So we start comparing them to the people they're running against, which is not collegians, it's pros. And then they have 1 or 2 down years against pros. And then you're like,
yeah, the best in the world.
What happened? What went wrong? And then you look up and they're 18 and a half or something years old. And then, so now we look at him as 20 and it's like, whoa, what a big comeback. Let's do the alternate universe where Hobbs Kessler doesn't compete against pros. Let's do the alternate universe where Hobbs Kessler goes to college. Maybe he doesn't even win the NCAA title, but he's getting third, he's getting second, he's finishing high up in these races. He's posting fast times because he's on a collegiate schedule.
Solomon. Yeah,
exactly. Or even quicker. And then maybe after his, what would he be? Sophomore? Junior? Whatever he would be. Whatever after that season, that summer, he goes and he runs USAs and he runs really well. You're like, oh my gosh. When he's done with college, he's going to be the next best thing. We just look at these athletes so much different who go straight from high school to pros, and then we think that they're done improving, and he's just turned 20 years old. So yeah, on one sense, it's surprising, it's shocking because it reverses the trend, and he gets a PR. But look at how, I mean, Gordon, like last year he ran 3:36. 2 years ago, when he was 18, he ran 3:34. So he went from 3:34 to 3:32 from 18 to 20. Like, that's not a crazy progression, but for some reason, we didn't think Hobbs Kessler would be able to get back into the mix, and now he's getting it together at the right time. I think this one result, because the 1,500 on the U.S. side is so open, this is enough to put him in the mix for top 3. He beat Cooper Tier. We don't know what's going on with Cole Hawker. Naguse looks solid, and Tier talked about potentially wanting to double 15 and 5. But I think, Kessler's range now is, I wouldn't pick him to beat Naguse right now, but you'd have to put him Kessler 2 to 6 in that range. Yeah. Maybe even 1 to 6 if Naguse has an off day. If you're running 3:32, you are right there. Again, no, I'm not putting him ahead of Naguse. I'm just saying he's close enough to where if Yared had a bad day, I'm not taking anything away from Naguse. His record is his record. But look at just what one race accomplished, what one race revealed. You look at his whole season. He's been putting out some good times. He won that road mile, that BAA road mile. Finished second in another one in Atlanta. But he's only 20. He could keep improving.
There was an interesting stat that our journalistic colleague, John Galt of Let's Run, he tweeted out. Kessler running 3:32.61, Tier 3:32.74, and Naguse 3:33.02. It's the first time since 2010 that 3 Americans have run 3:33.02 or faster in the same year.
It finally happened. It finally happened. They did it. The seal has been broken.
It's just, that's why it's so, we're just so used to seeing Americans run the 3:34s, 3:35s, and then one of them pops off and has a great tactical race to be in the medal hunt at the global championships. But now that we have 3 guys, and there's some other people out there who can put together fast times if they wanted to.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you give Prakel perfect conditions, maybe he can put off a fast one. And obviously Cole Hawker, who's probably dealing with some injuries. It's looking good. I thought the 1,500 was kind of looking not so good. But now seeing Hobbs run as he did, 3:32 at 20, the prime of a 1,500 meter runner is ages 22 to 26. So he still has yet to even start his prime. Cooper Tier, he looks
PB,
solid
PB for him.
He's, it's a good run for him. PB, obviously he probably wants to have the win over Kessler, so it kind of looks a little weird. It's like, wait, a PB, but I'm slower than a 20-year-old. That feels weird. But I think Cooper Tier, he's in line to, be making multiple teams, whether it be at the 1,500 or 5K level. But yeah, Hobbs Kessler, super surprised, did not see it coming. But also something I didn't see coming. Should we all potentially see it coming?
Here it is.
The man who finished in 8th place.
Colt, give me the Jaws music. Go ahead.
We don't have the rights for that. We don't have the rights.
No, we have the rights to Colt make the sound. It's Central Time. He's back.
So here's the question. It's one of 3 things for Centrowitz. Number 1, he's back. He's on the road back, and we need to watch out.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, he's actually not back. It's just that we think 336 is fast, and it's not really fast anymore. Or number 3.
What's 3?
He's fake back because while he did close in 56 seconds, he had the exact same last 400 as Cooper Tier. Is there a difference of running 56 off a 236 opening 1100 versus a 240?
Well, of course there is. But listen, this is so much better than anything else he's run this season. Look at the trend line now. Look at where he started and look at where it is now. And he had talked earlier about this is all, like I read that article, I think our friend Andrew Greif, the LA Times, wrote an article about him where Centro was talking about this is really setting up for Paris 2024. And I'm like, okay, well, if you look at it from that perspective, then this is all just extra this season. He's just trying to get into shape and then it's all about Paris. But that's tough. We know that's tough.
At USA's.
Yeah, but that's tough. That's tough. I know he's going to be 1 year away from the injury next year, 1 more year away from his injury and 1 more year running next year, but he's another year older and there's no guarantee on health. So it's hard to know for sure where he would have been in 2024. But he has to be so encouraged by this run about 2023. Because listen, I know Nagus has been great. We just talked about Kessler. We just talked about Tier, Hawker, etc. But like Gregoric and Prekel are guys who can make the team, or at the very least, I mean, Gregoric's made a bunch of teams. Prekel made an indoor team. And he's right there. Who knows more about how to get ready for a big race in the US 1500 meter ranks than Matthew Centrowitz? This is where the institutional memory comes in. Right? We're in the midst of potentially seeing a historic comeback in the NBA. I know you stopped watching basketball, but what the Celtics have said, don't let me get game 1. Then it was don't let me get game 2. Like if you're the 1500 meter field, you can't let Matt Centrowitz onto the final start line. Like you do not want to see him there. If you are interested in getting a top 3 spot, you can't. You don't want him there.
So they need to collude to find a way to make sure he doesn't qualify out of the semifinals.
No, I didn't mean literally. I just meant if you're lining up for a 1500 meter US final, and you got a bunch of guys who ran 332, and let's just say for argument's sake, Centro lowers his PB 1 or 2 more seconds, right? But he's still not the top seed. You're still scared of him. You're still scared of him based on his history. You still do not want to battle him over the last quarter at Hayward Field. That is not a guy you want to tangle with. You take guys who are faster over Matthew Centrowitz. He has the mental edge. He knows how to get it done when it comes time to do it. And listen, I think a lot of times the mental aspect, the psychological aspect, it's obviously critically important. Sometimes in running, I think it's overrated. The faster person usually wins in most cases. But when we're talking about small margins and you're talking about someone who has the history of Matthew Centrowitz in this event and the unpredictable nature of the 1500 when it comes time to the U.S. championships, you have to like the trend line here. This was a surprising result for me. He totally reversed the direction he was going.
All right. As much. Okay. Hold on. I'm trying to kill time by giving little words because I want to give a stat right now that I'm populating as we speak.
While you're doing that, I just want to give. We didn't even mention Timothy Chariot, who won the event. We should talk about Chariot. I'll do it real quick. He won the Battle of the Chariots against Reynolds and 3:31.47. So ran faster than Jakob. You still have him behind Jakob, obviously, but this was a glimpse at the Chariot pre-Jakob, or when Jakob wasn't ascending to the throne yet, and he would go out there, he'd control races from far out, and he would just hold off all the competitors. So good race for Timothy Chariot. It'll be fun to see him back in the mix. We talked about how wide open the men's 15 is after Jakob, just in terms of how many countries have entrants who can get there. So I would love to see him and Reynolds in there as well, too. What's your stat?
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Hobbs Kessler, Cooper Tier, Yard Nagus, Jonathan Davis, Andrew Hunter, Sam Prekel, Vincent Cietti, Cole Hawker, John Gregoric, David Ribich, Grant Fisher, Josh Thompson, Eric Holt, Paul Ryan, Joe Wascom, Christian Noble, Abdi Hamanur, Reed, Brown. They have all run faster than Centro this year or last year.
How many of them have a gold? That's worth something.
Olympic gold?
Yeah.
2016?
Yeah.
It's a long time
What
ago.
other gold? Well, I'm just saying it's worth something.
I'm just saying he's ranked. He has the 19th best 1500 time.
Right, but he's right on Gregoric and
But
Prekol, who are finalists right now, maybe better. He wasn't breaking 4 in the mile a couple months ago. I know there's eventually the improvement curve stalls out, but you have to believe this isn't the end of the improvement. Okay, let's just say this. Let's say he improves by, let's say he gets down to 334. Are you going to pick him to make the team?
If he gets down to 334, yes.
Okay.
Actually, hold on. If he gets down to 334.89, that's my over-under. 334.89.
February 11th, 2023, 156.01. February 23rd, 2023, 406.52.
Maybe he's trolling us with these bad races.
No, I just
watch this.
I legitimately think it just took time for him to come back. And again, maybe he's going to hit that plateau here. Maybe he's going to find that 335 is it, or 336 is it. I don't, that's a possibility. I don't think it's likely though, given his track record. I think he's got a little more there. And I don't think he was circling the LA Grand Prix and being like, I'm peaking for LA Grand Prix. And you gave him confidence. Like you can't, if you're trying to beat him for a spot, he's alive now again. Gordon's got the shoes again.
Speaking of confidence, I'm confident when I wear these Tracksmith Elliott running shoes. Do you like that little segue? I don't even know how to. They are a little dirty. I'll be honest. There's a little dirt.
Because you've been using them.
You
love them.
They get dirty when you use them. So
yeah,
that's maybe a warning. Is that when you run in them in the mud, it gets dirty. But you look good doing it, and they felt good. I'm going to say this. We get a lot of shoe sponsors. I've been at Flo for 9 to 10 years. We've had a bunch of different brands send us shoes. These shoes were the best ones that I have worn as a personal Gordon. Now, not everyone's foot is shaped like my foot, so maybe I'm wrong. But I feel like I know. I've tried all the brands, and these shoes, they have felt the best.
Mm-hmm.
So
it weighs
out that in the wilderness.
Let me give you some specs. I talked about the stack height earlier. 8 ounces, or a men's 9, women's 10.5 weighs 9.2 ounces. The women's 7 weighs 8 ounces. True to size, medium width. So they come in styles from men's 4 all the way to men's 13, women's 5.5 to women's 14.5. Yeah, just to reiterate, Gordon was bouncy walking around the office wearing these things. Not just bouncy with his feet, but he's bouncy just in his whole aura. So there you go. That's the Elliott Runner. Again, the website, tracksmith.com. Check it out. Let's keep moving.
All right, now let's talk about. You sent me a text message. What was the text that you sent to me?
I think it was just.
I didn't watch this live.
An
Thank
LOL.
God I didn't watch this live. You sent me an LOL. No, there's more. You sent me.
Well, don't read it if it's incriminating.
What'd you send to me? You said ha 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 ha. LOL LOL LOL. I wrote haha just saw, and you wrote so good.
Yeah. This meet,
and that was sarcasm with the good.
Yeah.
So good.
So let's just do some history. I don't have all these meets written down, but I feel like there's at least one meet every year where there's a ton of scratches beforehand, and then when the meet itself happens, there's a couple more scratches mid-meet, and it just feels like a gut punch. And that's what this meet was. I'm talking about LA. Of course, you had great performances from Crouser. We just talked about the men's 15. The women's high hurdles was spectacular. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But all the pre-race scratches were a letdown. And then the women's 100 looked to be shaping up to be awesome. Just awesome after that first round. You had Richardson run fast. You had Toulouse run really well. Aaliyah Hobbs was looking sharp. And then we get ready for the final, and I look and I see 3 empty lanes in the middle of the track, and I think, oh, did they do a B final? Did the people who didn't qualify, did they invite them back, and then there's going to be a B final, and then there's going to be an A final after that. But no, that was the A final. You had no Hobbs, you had no Toulouse, you had no Richardson. Morlake Kinnison won it in 1097. So we didn't get to see the big three, who were, again, all looking great because Toulouse was 1088, Richardson was 1090, Hobbs was 1095. I think we would have seen something spectacular. NBC reporter on the broadcast, Richardson had cramp issues. Toulouse tweeted something. I don't have it in front of me right now. I can find that in a moment. But yeah, pretty big letdown because people want to, it's Women's 100. It's one of the marquee events, given the names there, and we didn't see it. So, okay, Toulouse says, unfortunately, I was cramping on my calf just before the final. My team and I didn't want to take a risk. Sorry for the fans who come to watch me run today. Okay. We've been through this before. We've been through this before.
They weren't cramping. They didn't want to race each other.
Okay, see, I disagree with that. I don't think it was an issue of not wanting to race each other. I think it was just an issue of not wanting to race at all. Not wanting to do the second race. Like, what are they worried about? They've raced each other before. They're going to race each other again. There's not some sort of, there's no issue that's going to keep them from racing each other.
Yeah.
I mean,
what? You're right.
I don't think that's true at all.
They say they want to do 2 races.
Well, I think what could have happened is 1 or 2 of them maybe did have a cramp. And then at that point, it's like, okay, I have nothing to gain and everything to lose from running this race if the 2 main people I came here to beat aren't running. Don't know the order of operations in terms of who scratched when, and we'll probably never know. But nobody was jazzed about this outcome. Nobody was like, awesome.
Yeah. More and more I think about they weren't dodging each other. They were dodging a second race. Do you think they were told ahead of time that this was going to be a 2-race meet?
Yeah, and there's 2-race meets all the time. And a lot of athletes like it because they like getting one in and then having another one. But listen, some of them could have signed up with the express purpose of only doing 1 race because whatever plan they're in, they were just like, listen, go out, get 1 hard effort, and then that's it. Which, again, as with all these issues relating to this meet and other meets, it's not a singular athlete's fault. It's not one athlete's fault. This is a sport-wide problem, and it comes up in issues like this, and then everybody directs their ire to like that athlete or this athlete. And that's not understanding the whole scope of the issue here.
Noah Lyles pulled out of USA 60. You'll see it all at USA's. Last year, USA's Grant Holloway didn't run the final against Devin Allen. You will see all these star athletes not do what they don't contractually need to do. It's going to be a problem at USA's, man. I'm predicting it already. I think Athing Mo and Sydney McLaughlin will not run the final in the 400 or the 1500. I think they're going to run 1 or 2 races and then call it a day.
So let's do this.
Purely based off of just like the vibe I'm getting of our sport, where constantly people are, doing as little as possible to only care about being your best at a championship final or a world championship final. But yeah, I mean, we were all talking about, I wanted to see Hobbs versus Sha'Carri because I want to see if Sha'Carri's wins translated to being number 1 in the U.S. because Hobbs, in my opinion, gets to hold on to the number 1 spot until she's dethroned. She hasn't done any races to prove that she's not number 1. So I was hey, they'll race each other, and then we can decide. Is Sha'Carri now the new number 1, or is it still Hobbs? But now we don't get that. So it's a bummer.
What do you think would have happened?
The meet director, Max Siegel, even made announcements about how, it's a bummer, but at the end of the day, he admitted that the athletes look at regular season meets as tune-ups for the meets that matter, which is USA's and Worlds.
Let's pretend the race happened, the final, that is.
Okay.
And taking what we saw from the semis, where Toulouse ran 1088 with a plus 1.3, Richardson ran 10.9 minus 0.8, and then Hobbs 10.95 in the same heat as Toulouse. What do you think would have happened? Would you rearrange any of the top 5 or top 10 in the world based on what you saw in a prelim? I know that's hard.
No, nothing. I would not take any. I'd throw out the result.
Okay. Well, that was a short game. I thought both of them looked great because they both eased down.
Exactly.
I think you can make an equal argument for both of them. I think we could have seen a sub 10.8 just based on how much they were slowing down at the end. We will never know. That's correct. But I think we could have seen something in the 10.7s. And I think what this did, Richardson's run we know Richardson is sharp right now. We know she's running really well. She's doing great. But this was a second good result for Toulouse in a row after what she did in Florida. Again, I know it's only a semi, but I think Toulouse is firmly in that top 5, knocking on the door of top 3 right now, just because she's out there and she's racing, even if she's not in these finals. And credit, again, to the winner, Akinnison. That's twice under 11 seconds this year for her.
Yeah.
You want to move on? Women's 2. Let's talk about women's 2 in Rabat.
What are your thoughts overall? Like, are you upset, or are you just like, this is our sport, this is what's going to happen?
Yeah.
We're going to pretend that these races matter, but at the end of the day, they don't. Because if they did, they wouldn't pull out, right?
I mean, yeah, that's the reality of it. And again, you can get mad about it, but understand it's been happening for a while. Maybe someone can go back, 30, 40, 50 years and say, well, so-and-so ran against this person a million times. But there's always people in the era who run against each other. Jasmine Camacho Quinn had the quote post-race, where the hurdles, we don't duck each other, right? Which is true. There's always people in that era who go against each other all the time. And that's great, and we celebrate them. But there's also athletes and events where it never really works out, and we don't get the head-to-head matchups. But it's how the sport is run. It's how the incentives are structured within the sport. I mean, I know people like to talk about track having a marketing problem and all that stuff. Track has a track problem, first and foremost, to put it simply. Track has a track problem that needs to be fixed structurally over the long term. It's not going to be done on a short-term basis. It's not going to be done because you have a meet in a bigger city. It's not going to be done because you have a food truck show up at your meet. It's a bigger problem than that. It's not. All right, let's keep going.
True. There are people who think that, though. Oh, let's put a food truck, and then now we're tracking back.
And listen, there's nobody more pro food truck than me. You and I have been to some food trucks in our day. Love a food truck. But if all these other things are just cosmetic, and the real structural change is much bigger. We got to keep going, though, because there's a lot to get through. We do got to keep
going, but I will say this. Who do you think would have won? Sha'Carri or Toulouse?
Well, that's what I was asking you. And you said it didn't matter. It didn't count. That's what I was trying to ask you.
Well, you were asking me, what do you take from the prelim on your ranking? And I was like, well, nothing. Those results don't matter. Who I think is going to win is a different question. I think Sha'Carri would have won.
Yeah, the minus 0.8 versus the 1.3. Again, they were both slowing down, though. But I give the slight edge to Richardson. Hopefully we'll see soon enough. All right. We got to go through pretty quick on these ones. Is that cool?
I don't know.
Men's 800, LA, and then Rabat. So men's 8 in LA, good race. Clayton Murphy, season's best, 144.75 ahead of Festus Legat. Isaiah Jewett, good race for third. And then over in Rabat, you had Wanyoni get another win, 144.3. Where Emmanuel Carrere, 148. I know it was his 800 debut, but way down there in 8th place. So Murphy, though, running well with the that's a solid mark for him and a great kick with the 144.75.
Yeah, I mean, times-wise, it's the 144s are like we see these all the time, but I was impressed that Murphy won. Murphy, every time he goes on like these little cold streaks where he's like, what's going on? He just fails to make a final here or just gets 8th place there. And you're like, man. And then he goes on a hot streak where he'll put together, multiple weeks worth of great performances. You're like, oh, Murphy, he's back in the race tactician expert that he can be. And then he goes on a cold streak. And it feels like Murphy's coming off a cold streak, and now maybe this will be the start of a hot streak so he can set himself up well to make another team. I mean, how many teams has Murphy made?
I feel like he always figures it out when it comes time to
He made
do it.
Yeah, he made the 15 team because of Nick Simmons, and then
and then 16 he medaled.
16 he made, and then 17.
No, 17 he didn't make, right? 17 is when he doubled, right?
Yeah. Well, that was interesting. And then 18,
no, I love that. I will always appreciate that he went for it in 17. 19 he made. I remember he made 19.
19 made.
Yeah. Let's see. 17. Yeah, he didn't make 17. 21. Should know this. But yeah, he won it. Won the trials. 9th in the final. And then last year, Eugene.
Yeah. So
he got fourth.
up.
He got fourth. He just missed it last year. Fourth at USA's.
Okay, so if he didn't make, I'm gonna say I think everyone would have him make the team this year, right? Because Hoppel's not doing anything crazy wild.
Yeah,
you have to put Murphy on the team. Yeah.
Yep, 100%. Okay, high hurdle time. Women's highs from LA. This was one of the events of the meet. We talked about it before. What Camacho Quinn said about the lack of ducking on women's high hurdle side. She got the win, 12:31, world lead. She had the faster time previously, but that was wind aided. She was really good. Harrison, right there, 12:35. It's it's in like her top 6 or 7 times all time for Kenny Harrison, which that's an impressive stat given how fast she's run and how long she's been at it. Surprised a bit with Amusan in 8th there at 12:69, but remember, she got a slow start last year and then got it together at the end. So Camacho Quinn, I think, though, number 1 right now in the world.
I'm not surprised about the Amusan performance. That's what she does. She has erratic regular season, then she'll put it together, probably medal at Worlds. But yeah, I mean, those were the 2 fastest times in the world this year. You still have the college kids in Russell and Armstrong duking it out, and Nugent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I do think now Nugent is Jamaican, so she won't be involved in USA's per se. But I can see one of those college kids potentially catching lightning in a bottle and go on into Worlds and find a way to upset a Camacho Quinn or Harrison. But we'll have to wait and see. Camacho Quinn, though, she was like the next big thing, and then all of a sudden Toby comes in hot and breaks the world record, and we're like, I thought this was going to be Jasmine's kind of 4-year run, and then Amusan kind of screwed that one up. But now maybe it's evening itself out, and Camacho Quinn is kind of getting back to the 2021 version of her. So,
all right, let's go to Rabat. Men's high hurdles. Rashid Broadbell did it again. 13:08. Beats Grant Holloway, 13:12. Parchment, 13:24. Devin Allen, 13:25. This is going to be a battle all year. And it's going to involve these 4. Maybe there'll be another person or 2 that enters the mix, but this is going to be a battle because you got a lot of guys who are sub 13 here.
Conspiracy hat. Do you think Grant lost this race on purpose to make us feel like watching him run at the championship level, there's more of a chance he might lose?
Because he literally lost the Olympics.
It makes no sense.
So,
yeah.
What do you mean it makes no sense? Broadbell's good. Broadbell's really good.
I know Broadbell's good, but Grant is better.
We did this last year. Broadbell beat him last year.
Grant is better. But Grant is a better 110-meter hurdler than Broadbell. Yes or no?
He's had a better career so far. Yeah, it doesn't mean Broadbell's not close enough to beat him. Yeah, but
he's better.
Better people lose all the time. That's sports.
I know.
I mean, it didn't happen in the Eastern Conference semis. Eastern Conference semis, the best teams clearly won.
Oh, yeah. The MVP.
Is he?
Why do you
I think he has to give it back. Because you have this is a ridiculous point. Because I only do it when you make a ridiculous
point. Obviously, I'm being facetious. He's not trying to lose on purpose. That was a joke. I'm not dumb. Like, he was trying to win and he lost. I'm not trying to make a little fake joke. But what I am saying, though, is like, when I look at Grant and the 110 field, you kind of look at the way you look at a lot of the top and then the field. It's Grant versus the field, Grant versus the field. And so whenever you see Grant actually lose to the field, you get a little confused. It's like, I was like, wait, he only ran 13:08. Grant can run 12:09. Why didn't Grant win? And so you kind of get a little bit of confusion because you're so used to see Grant Holloway win every race. Now this is an indoor 60. It is an outdoor 110. So maybe that's the difference.
That is the difference.
I don't know. Yeah,
we saw him lose to. He's lost to Parchment. He's lost to Broadbell. He's lost to Devin Allen.
To Jamaicans.
Again, I know, but yeah, but that's good. Credit to him for running a lot. Credit to him for putting him in a position to where he's in these competitive races. But I got bad news for you, man. What's bad news? Well, they've raced technically 5 times when they've. Well, I'll say the DNF from Broadbell counts. So it's 3-3 all time between the two of them. And all 6 matchups come from the last 2 years.
Yeah. No. You're
and
right.
2 of those wins for Holloway came at Tom Jones this year.
Okay.
A heat and a final, which it says DNF. He probably DNS'd that, I'm guessing. So, I mean, last year he got him twice. One in Hungary and then one in Switzerland. Grant got him.
Does Grant Holloway have a Broadbell problem? Is that what we're trying to say?
Well, does he have a Jamaica problem with Parchment too?
Yeah.
These guys are really good. These guys are really good.
Problem.
Let me look at Grant versus Parchment just to further this thought. He's 7-1 against Parchment. Only loss coming.
Okay.
At Olympics.
So it's a Broadbell problem.
He has a Broadbell problem. Very clearly a Broadbell problem. But Parchment, 13:24, he's not going away. I just think it's going to be great.
And it's a good run for Devin Allen. He's obviously coming off a football season, getting 4th in this race.
Yeah.
He was only 0.01 off of the Olympic champion Parchment. So Allen should be in the mix when it comes to August. So that should be exciting.
Let's move now. Women's 400 in LA. Everybody's talking about who wasn't there. But who was there was Paulino, who ran 48.98. Got a PB. Dropped it 100th of a second. Nasser's back. She got second. 50.27. Just those two alone, those are 2 huge stories in the sport. You kind of had to have a scratch here because the event could not hold another crazy story. Like if Sydney was in this as well, it would have been incredible. So yeah, all this talk about who's running the 400, who's not. One thing is certain: Paulino is running the 400, and she's gonna be damn good at it. She's gonna, I would assume, be sub 49 come World Championships. Now maybe Bowl can run faster than that. Maybe Sydney's gonna run it, and she's gonna be faster than that. We don't know. But Paulino, if the status quo is the status quo, she's going to be tops in the world unless other people come in. I think Sydney's going to run the quarter, which means she's going to have to run really fast to get the win.
You think Sydney's going to run the quarter at Worlds?
Yes. I don't know.
I don't think she is.
I mean, I don't know for certain. That's just a guess. I think she's running the quarter, which I don't know where that leaves Bowl, but. The other one I want to talk about, men's 2. Terrence Laird. From lane 8. Lane 8, Gordon. 20.06. He's been injured. Been off the radar a bit. Remember how hyped we were about Laird? That last year at LSU, how fast he was running. He goes 20.06, beats Jareem Richards, 20.08. That 200 team, though, is so unforgiving. It's so hard to get on that U.S. 200-meter team. He's going to need to take another step up, but it was just great to see him out there again. Huge potential. Good to see that he's healthy. And it's just interesting they had him way out in 8. And this, he was way far back, too, the last 50. And you're like, wait, who is that? And you're like, oh, okay. Terrence, if someone told you 2 years ago that would be Terrence Laird, it would make sense. But, yeah, we just haven't seen him on the circuit for a bit. So good to see him out there again. I got 2 more. Is there anything else you want to talk about in either Rabat or LA? I got 2 more distance races.
Hit me.
Okay, so women's 15. Sagai went for it again. Man, she just there's the world record light, and then there's her. The problem is the lights beat her a lot, which they're tough. The lights are really good.
We saw this. Sagai have a light problem?
Yeah, well, we saw it
world record light problem.
Indoors, she just steps up and just swings for the fences. She's not making contact. She's not going for singles. She goes for world records. She eventually drifted back 354, but that's still really good. Unfortunately, 354 is going to put you behind Faith Kipyegon, but I just wanted to give her props to that performance. Ethiopia 1 through 4 here. Hailu, Halem was second and third. They're so deep. Speaking of really hard teams to make, Ethiopian women's 1,500 meter team is nuts. And then the last event of the meet, we saw El Bakali 7:56.68. He gave the world record a bit of a scare here. All-time performance for him, and a PB for Sufyan Al Bakali. It's the 14th fastest time in history, but when you take out the repeat competitors, he moves up even higher. So fun to see him go for it. And it looks like if you got him and some of the other top guys together, like if you got Germa and Wale together and they actually pushed each other, you could see 7:53. And that world record's been around since 2004. On the distance side of things, 2004 is ancient history. When you think about the marathon world records, the 5Ks, I mean, the 15 is old too. But women's side of things, marathon, 5K, 10K, all recent. 1,500, recent. But steeple for the women, recent. Like the men's steeple, it's time. It's time. El Bakali might be the guy.
Shrika Jackson ran 21 seconds in the 200.
Yeah, we skipped that. Sorry, we skipped that. Go ahead.
Skip that because, you just...
I went out of order.
Of greatness.
No, I'm not. Go ahead. Sorry. Good thing you're here.
Good thing I'm here. See, that's what you need me here for. Just some time to fix things up. But I did predict that it would be hard for them to break the 22-second barrier. Remember, I was like, everyone's going to be running 22.0, and then there's going to be like an avalanche or a waterfall effect if people start breaking 22 seconds. But she runs 21.9. Impressive. Shrika Jackson, we can't forget, she did run the number 2 fastest time in the world in the 200. So it makes sense that she's running 21.9 this early. It should set her up well to chop it down a bit and be back into the 21.4 to 6 range come August. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Nothing much really to add to it, though, but Shrika Jackson getting the win. She didn't really beat anyone that good.
Strawn ran really well. She came on late. Looked like Tamara Davis might take it, and then the last 50 was... It didn't look like it was going to be sub 22, just based on how far back she was. And then when they showed the time, I was like, oh, okay, wow, that was just a good performance from both those women.
Isn't it wild that Kayla White, who finished 4th in that race, is the one who beat Shakira Richardson in the 200?
Yeah. Every race is
so
different.
Weird. Sports are weird.
Sports are weird. All in the Game says Femke ran 53.12 for her fastest ever 400-meter hurdle opener, was testing out a new 14-step pattern, went well until the 7th hurdle. Quote, then it became a mess, but I had a lot of energy left. So, yeah, the possibility.
I say that all the time.
It was a mess.
When I go on my local runs, it was a mess.
So it is interesting, though, because we're watching, Britton Wilson post all these doubles that are ridiculous when she has 52 seconds of rest. The world where she just runs one event, I don't know what she's capable in the 4-meter hurdles. So if Femke does stay there, Britton goes into the 4-meter hurdles. Femke's still the favorite. She's got to be. But I'm interested to see what Britton Wilson could do full rest. But speaking of that.
Yeah, should we do a quick recap of NCAA prelims? We'll probably do more of a mega
do a preview next week.
Preview of it on Monday's podcast next week. We are going to be doing podcasts live after NCAA's as well, so that should be exciting.
2 of them, the 10th and the 12th. I think we're doing them, whatever days those are.
Kevin wrote a really good
it's great
article recapping 5 of the most notable moments from NCAA prelims. A lot of the big dogs all qualified. There wasn't too many shocking not qualifiers. Qualifiers. I guess notably, Drew Bosley was a scratch. He was entered in a 10K and then ended up not even running. So he must have been dealing with an injury. He was entered in just a 10K, scratched a 5, and then ultimately scratched a 10. So I think that was the one like gold medal potential athlete who didn't get through the rounds. But outside of that, we had the two big doublers, Caitlin Toohey, qualifying with ease in both the 1500 and the 5K, trying to pull off the 5K double. Her workload is going to be running a 1500 meter prelim, then 48 hours rest, and then a 15 final, 5K final. You any thoughts on Caitlin Toohey's double?
I think she's going to be fine. I think the fact that the meet starts later is going to help out. That 5K finals until 9:55 p.m. You look at her margin over everybody else. It's significant. It's massive. I think she'll be good. She's also, and the same thing we could say with Britton Wilson. They've been planning for this, right? They've been gearing workouts towards this, I'm assuming, and being able to come back with this amount of rest. NC State's done a really good job of keeping her total race count low outdoors, including these three. She's only raced 7 times outdoors, and a lot of those have been very controlled effort. She obviously had the fast 15 and the fast 5, but everything else looked like it was well under control. So I think she's ready to let it rip. And I think what this is going to be the jumping off point, and then she's going to go into maybe another meet or so before USA's, and then we're going to see how she does against the top women in the United States. So I think she's the favorite in both. She should be the favorite in both, and she didn't have any issues qualifying.
And then also no issues qualifying, as you saw on the screen a little bit earlier when you were talking, is Britton Wilson. Again, pulling off a stupid double. It makes no sense. No one in their right mind should ever attempt this. But Britton Wilson likes to live a little dangerously, and she's like, you know what? 400 hurdles, I'm in. And she cruises with ease in both. She basically runs 400 meter type races, qualifies with ease in all the prelims. And she ran fast too. She was running 49 seconds. Why is she out there running 49 seconds in a prelim? She needs to learn to slow it down.
I thought of the same thing. My only thought was that's easy for her now, or she's just trying to get a workout in, and that's scary if it's true. Like, that's what it looks like. Now, here's the thing. The rest shrinks even more when we get to the NCAA finals. So the total amount of time that she's going to have, there's only one event in between the two events. And Rashida Adeleke was only a few hundredths behind her in a different heat in the quarter. So that's going to be the true test. There's nobody within 2 seconds of her in the 4-meter hurdles. I think if she goes into the 4-meter hurdles, tired, as long as she gets a 54 and change, she'll be fine. I think the next fastest time this season in the 55s. Now, someone could PR and come out of nowhere, but 55:21 from Messiah Russell is the number 2 time in the nation this year. So basically, this is a math equation. I mean, we know Adeleke is going to run fast, but can Wilson run 49.2, and then after 20 minutes rest, can she come back and run 54? 54.5 probably would be enough. If she can do that, she's going to pull it off, and it's going to be... I mean, they didn't think this double was possible because they put the schedule that way. If they thought someone was going to do this, they wouldn't have even made it that hard. This is ridiculous. Like, the degree, like, they just... Again, they weren't even thinking about this being a possibility. So, how are we going to do this NCAA championship schedule? Oh, we'll do the 400. Okay. And then what's next? Oh, we'll do an event. And then how about the 400 hurdles? Oh, you don't think anybody will do both? They're both 400s. No. No one would ever do. Is this your first track meet? Who is this new guy? No one thought it was going to happen. So that's why they have them with only one event in between. But I think she's going to do it. I think, Gordon, she's going to do it.
I think so too.
Crazy.
It's wild. We'll break it down more, down to like the minute of rest that she'll have next week. Other notable things from prelims: the men's distance races, nothing too shocking. All the top people qualified in the 5K. Obviously, you mentioned Drew Bosley didn't do the 10K, but that was because he scratched. But Duncan Hamilton, man, who I think I brought him up to you one time on a podcast. Like, watch out for Duncan Hamilton. Yeah. What was it for? What was in reference to?
Well, didn't he said he was going after the collegiate record, wasn't he? And or something like that. And I was like, wait, Henry Ronos ran 8:05. It was something like that.
Yeah.
Which he's not 8:05, but he won by 19 seconds. That's a statement race. Talk about people who ran harder than they need to. He won by 19 seconds. He ran 8:16. So he's number 2.
Trying to get a world standard is probably what he was trying to do.
Yeah, and now we have an awesome battle with him and Rooks coming up at NCAAs because Rooks is at 8:17. Then you throw in Parker Stokes there. You got 3 top 5 runners all time in the men's steeple.
And then on the men's sprint side, we had crazy fast wins, plus 5.5 reading, 4.4, 2.7. The notable one was a 1960 from Robert Gregory.
Yeah, the Robert Gregory. Yeah, and then on the 100 was nuts. You had 10 guys under 10. Honestly, because the wind was so out there, I was looking more at the West. And you had Ododi Onwuzurike get a PB with a 992 ahead of Jones. But also in the mix, you got Maswanganyi, Makai Williams. Like, that men's 100 is still just up in the air, I think.
If Williams can get fully back, Williams might win the whole thing.
I don't think you can count him out. In the same way, I don't think you can count out Maswanganyi, even though those other guys ran faster. I forgot Courtney Lindsay ran 10:02. Onwuzurike 992, Jones 993, Lindsay 10:02, Williams 10:04, Maswanganyi 10:05. So I think any of those 5 can win. And then if you want to tell me 3 guys can win from East, I'm not going to argue with you. Again, it's harder to measure because of the wind reading. But if you look at their other performances throughout the season, they're right in there too. It's going to be really hard to make that final.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. And then last but not least, not happening at NCAAs. She could be still in the NCAAs if she wanted to.
She could.
Anna Hall, though, now clearly doesn't need to be in the NCAA because she's out there destroying the heptathlon. How many points did she score? 6,988 points.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5 in world history, right?
Yes.
22 years old.
202-800 to close it out. 202-800.
That's quick.
Yeah, bunch of PBs.
I'm looking forward to off-year seasons now because off-year, we know what Ashton Eaton was doing in the off-year when there's no world championships. He was mixing it up in different events. And I guess when's our first off-year? 2026, right?
Yeah, it's been a while.
So 2026 and 2030.
That used to be the
fun
thing.
Anna Hall years.
That used to be the only thing you'd look forward to in the non-championship year. It's like, what's this person going to try? It's the non-championship
Anna
year.
Hall now, she's going to just call this something like the Anna Hall Invitational. The only events that she competes in, and she just races the best of the best, gives herself ample rest. And then she's like, all right, I'm going to do 400 hurdles. I'm going to do an 800. I'm going to do this, that, the other thing. That's what we want. So,
yeah, she just really came into her own this summer, and we'll see, how far she can take it. But almost to 7,000. She talked about getting to 7,000, and to PR in that many events in one competition. Just that's got to feel good. Checking on the chat, all in the game, #qualificators. Then we had a little bit of a back and forth, some U.S. Jamaica thing. Leverage King, as if half this chat isn't sponsored by Jamaican hopes. It's kind of funny. To which Jordan responded, Jamaican realities, trademark, which is good. I don't know what the context is of this, but it ends with you getting made fun of. So I'm going to read it. The British say transport, while U.S. says transportation. Both are technically correct, but why use more letters and time than you have to, LOL. And all in the game responded and says, not when Gordon says it. There. Sorry, I like that.
We do
one.
want to talk about 2 more things.
Okay, I'm going to keep looking at the chat. These are just some good
While
comments.
looking at chats, Cordell Tinch, man.
Oh,
you
yeah.
See this?
Yeah, read the whole weekend. No, the whole weekend.
It was 6. What do you mean the whole weekend?
He had 2 other events. Look at all his marks. Pull up all of them.
Yeah, no, I know, but like seeing 1287 on the clock for our D2 college kid, you're like, what are we taking crazy pills? No, we're not taking crazy pills. The wind is taking crazy pills, but still 1287 is 1287. This guy, man, he's going to be, I just need to get him in a win legal environment. this guy can't catch a break. He's just running 1299, 1287 with all these crazy wins. Give him a perfect 2.0 wind in a perfect stadium and see what this guy can do, because that's what I want to see.
So he was 816 in the long jump and 221 in the high jump.
That 816 is pretty damn good. 221 is all right.
I mean, it says 1.1 wind on the 816.
That's
yeah,
good.
just the fact he's tripling though, and then running the 1287, even though the wind is 6.
I mean, Holloway was doing that too, right? At Florida, he was doing the long jump sometimes.
He didn't do the high jump in college though.
No, he did the high jump in high school though.
Okay.
One last thing to tell chat. Today is May 29th.
Yep.
Which is also happens to be the same day one Kevin Sully was born. Kevin, how old are you now?
What?
How
Kevin's
old am
birthday?
I like to look at how many I have left, not how many I've achieved. So we're going to keep it moving. Thank you, though, for bringing it up. Appreciate it.
How many do you have left?
Happy birthday, Kevin.
Thank you, Colt. Oh, at least 50.
50? So to 50 more years of Kevin Sully.
At least.
So you're 39? You're 39?
Okay, yeah. Did you do them? You're like, he's definitely gone at 89. So
yeah. Happy birthday, Kevin.
Thank you,
I would
man.
sing happy birthday to you, but my vocal cords aren't the best.
Well, instead of that, I want to try to get to a couple more questions on the chat. Someone says, what about the men's 400 in LA? Yeah. Karani James out hard, and then Sean Bailey of Jamaica closed on him. That was a crazy last 100. It's when you watch someone run as many times as we've seen Karani James run, you kind of have an idea of how it's going to look all the way to the finish line. But Bailey came up on him 44-43. That's a PR. 400, I have no idea what's going to happen. Don't know if Norman's running, had an injury. Kerley's not running it. Gardner's looked pretty good, but no one's really grabbed hold of the event this year. So maybe that could be a medal type performance. Some of that vaults Bailey into the medal conversation. Let's see. Now people are just wishing me happy birthday. Thank you, but I can't get through the chat now. Someone asked about the women's. Oh, what say you guys on a women's 1 and 2 at NCAAs? I don't think anything changed. I mean, Julian Alford in the 1.
Yeah.
Julian Alford in the 2.
Julian Alford in the 2.
So anybody else that can contend? Or anybody else?
No.
Who's favored for second? I don't know.
I don't even know. I mean, I do know, but maybe Ophelia can put it together at the very end. Did she even qualify in the women's 2? I don't even know if she qualified in the women's 2. But
now people are asking for more previews. Florence Diamond League, Racers Grand Prix. We're on the recap side of things, Kevin, now, guys. We're on the recap side of things. We're on the preview side of things. It's a great chat. It's a lively chat. I thought everybody was on top of it today. What have we done in terms of what?
And it's on Memorial Day weekend, too. On Memorial Day, chat.
Yeah, there's nobody in here, by the way. I thought I was going to set off the alarm. You're not even in Austin.
Yeah. But we do it for you. I have my friends who I'm here in Duluth with. They're constantly texting me. He's like, when's the podcast over? And I'm like, well, we got to talk about the Diamond Leagues.
Yeah, well, no, trust us, guys. Gordon's friends are right off camera. You just can't see them.
Yeah.
There they are.
Right there.
Waving to my friends. All right. We're going to leave it there. Shout out to Colt. Thank you for doing this on a holiday, Colt. We appreciate you. Excellent producing. Yeah. We also have 2 emails that I wanted to get to for the last couple of weeks. One is an update on Internet Coach. The other one's from our friend Harry with another stats deep dive. When you're in the studio, Gordon, next week, we're going to have to do those. All right? 2 good emails that we got to get to. So we'll read those
thank you
next time. Thanks to the chat. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, thank you, chat. We love you guys. Thanks for always being here. And like and subscribe. And ultimately, happy birthday, Kevin. What's your middle name?
Michael.
Kevin Michael Sully, 39.
Thanks to Tracksmith for sponsoring, too. Thanks to Tracksmith.
And Tracksmith.
See you guys next Monday. Thanks to Colt. Have a great one, everybody. Talk to you soon.